I noticed it from the other side of the room before I had time to stop myself. My wife was laughing, truly laughing. The kind that lifts your posture and brightens your whole face. She leaned in slightly toward another man. Her posture was open, loose, vibrant in a way I hadn't witnessed in a long time. My stomach dropped immediately, not purely from jealousy, but from recognition. I knew that expression. It used to be mine. The chatter around me dissolved into static as my chest tightened. I didn't confront her. I didn't storm over. I simply turned away, already deciding something I never imagined I'd have to decide. I told myself this was the moment. Whatever we'd been clinging to had already slipped beyond reach. As I headed for the exit, each step felt heavier, as if years of shared history were pressing down on me. Promises, plans we'd made, late-night conversations about what our future would look like. I reached for the door handle, convinced that walking away was the only way to preserve the last bit of dignity I had. The end of a marriage doesn't always start with yelling. Sometimes it begins quietly, with silence and a private choice to leave before you're fully shattered. Standing there with my hand on the door, everything replayed in my head. The growing distance between us, how our conversations had shifted from closeness to logistics, the nights we slept turned away from each other. I blamed myself just as much as I blamed her. Maybe I'd stopped paying attention. Maybe I'd gotten too comfortable. Maybe this moment was unavoidable. I took a breath, prepared to step outside and never look back. That's when I heard my name. Not softly, not politely. She yelled it sharp, urgent, panicked. The sound cut straight through the room and froze me in place. My heart raced as confusion set in. Heads turned, chairs scraped, conversations stalled. I didn't turn around immediately. Part of me was afraid of what I might see. Another part was afraid of feeling hope. When I finally looked, she was no longer smiling. She wasn't leaning toward him anymore. She was pushing herself back from the table, staring directly at me. Her face drained of color as if she just realized something terrifying. In that instant, I understood that what was happening wasn't what I had assumed. She moved quickly toward me, ignoring the man beside her, ignoring everything else. When she reached me, she grabbed my arm. Not gently, not possessively, but desperately. "Please don't leave," she said, her voice trembling. That alone shocked me. This wasn't the response of someone caught enjoying another man's attention. This was fear, pure and unfiltered. I searched her face for signs of deceit, guilt, anything that fit the narrative I'd already written in my head. There was nothing. She turned toward the man behind her and said something I never expected to hear. "I told you I'm married. I told you to stop." The room fell silent again. The man stumbled through an explanation, but she cut him off and stepped closer to me instead. She slipped her hand into mine. Not as a performance, not as an apology, but like she needed something solid to hold on to. She admitted quietly that she'd been animated because he was discussing a project they'd worked on together. I didn't think about how it looked. That didn't erase the hurt, but it cracked the certainty I'd built in seconds. I didn't know what to say. Part of me still wanted to walk away, still wanted to protect myself from embarrassment and pain. But another part, the part that had loved her for years, saw something else in her eyes. Not betrayal, regret. She pulled me aside slightly and whispered, "When I saw you turning away, it hit me all at once how close I was to losing you without ever meaning to." Her words weren't defensive. They were terrified. She explained how alone she'd been feeling, how good it felt to be noticed, how careless she'd been with boundaries she didn't realize she was crossing. I listened. I didn't interrupt. I didn't forgive yet. I just listened. The man left quietly. No confrontation, no spectacle, just absence. And suddenly, the threat I thought I'd seen standing between us was gone. What remained was the two of us. Exposed, uneasy, but still standing together. I realized how dangerous assumptions can be, how quickly fear can invent endings that aren't true, and how close I'd come to destroying everything without knowing the full story. We left the event together, barely speaking on the drive home. The silence was thick, but it wasn't final. It felt heavy with things that still needed to be said. Once we got home, she broke down completely. Not loud or dramatic, just quiet sobbing filled with guilt. She told me she never intended to hurt me, but she understood why it looked exactly like betrayal. I told her how close I'd been to leaving for good. That frightened her more than anything else that night. "I didn't realize I was losing you," she said. I answered honestly, "I didn't either, until I was already walking away." That conversation was painful, but it was real. We talked about emotional neglect, about how excitement doesn't always equal attraction, but how it can still be dangerous when ignored. I didn't excuse her behavior. She didn't downplay it. For the first time in a long while, we weren't defending ourselves. We were actually trying to understand each other. Over the next few days, those conversations continued. Slowly and deliberately, she changed how she interacted with people at work. Boundaries were rebuilt intentionally, not casually. I examined my own role too. How often I assumed everything was fine instead of checking in. Trust isn't just about loyalty. It's about presence. She apologized more than once, not only with words but with consistent actions. And I realized something unexpected. I wasn't angry anymore. I was shaken. Shaken by how close I'd come to making a permanent decision based on a single moment without context. That realization humbled me. Relationships don't always end because of betrayal. Sometimes they nearly end because silence, distance, and fear fill the space where communication should exist. Later, friends asked why I looked like I was ready to leave that night. I didn't explain. It wasn't their story to hear. What mattered was that my wife and I finally confronted a truth we'd both been avoiding. We were drifting. And drifting is dangerous because it happens quietly. I learned that excitement isn't always infidelity, but it can signal emotional hunger. And emotional hunger, when ignored, slowly erodes trust. We chose to face it instead of pretending nothing happened. That choice wasn't easy, but it was honest. And honesty can change the direction of a story far more than anger ever will. When I saw my wife animated with another man, my heart dropped, and I truly believed our marriage was finished. I turned away, prepared to walk out on everything we'd built. But seconds later, she did something so unexpected that it forced me to stop, turn around, and question the story fear had written in my mind. That moment taught me this. Not every painful image is proof, and not every ending is real. Sometimes the most critical moments in a marriage happen right at the edge of leaving, when one honest action can either confirm your worst fear or save everything you thought was already gone. That night, we chose to stop, face the truth together, and write a different ending.